we're back. We're here for a new episode. We also have a guest here. So before we get into things, we are going to run the credentials. You know how we do. You can find me here on YouTube at Lifestyle Dropbox. You can also find me on Instagram at lifestyle_drop_box. Also Instagram at Lifestyle Dropbox_podcast. And also Patreon at Lifestyle Dropbox. Today we have a special guest, which is Queen Diana Prince. She is a Dom, also studying rigging as well, which we are going to go into briefly. So, ma'am, please introduce yourself a little bit more. If I did not, if I missed anything, we're going to go ahead and jump into the ropes for today. But please tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I've been a Dom now for about 2 years. I got into rigging about 3 months ago.
Okay.
Absolutely love it.
Awesome.
Absolutely love it. I love everything about it. The ropes, the feel of the ropes. Everything.
Okay. All right. Well, how did you, well, before we go ahead and actually get into the details of the rigging and the rope bunny, we're going to go ahead and break down a little bit of terminology. So maybe you'll be able to help me with that.
Sure.
We are both in the BDSM world. Her a little bit more in depth than I am, so I'm learning from her as well. But here we're going to just do the basic vocabulary and the definition of BDSM. And I believe we went on over this briefly in the first episode, but not too much into detail. So this episode, we are giving a little bit more information. All right. So we have BD, which is bondage and discipline, right? Mm-hmm. And that typically involves like restraints and it could be sensual play, it could be pain, it could be other things. What else is involved in bondage and discipline specifically?
So with bondage, you're being pretty much tied up by something. It could be ropes, it could be handcuffs, it could be leather straps, it could be belts. Okay. Some people repurpose certain things for bondage as well.
Oh, nice. Okay. So the next one we're going to do is dominance and submission. Mm-hmm. Okay. So dominance and submission, we have more of the psychological control when it comes to your sub. The person that is the sub is the person that is basically serving. Is that correct?
Serving me, yes.
Okay, perfect. And it's also, the sub also takes commands and demands from the Dom as well.
Yes.
Okay, so that's a part of the dominant submission relationship. Is there anything else you want to add to that?
With the dominant submission relationship, there has to be the aspect of trust.
Okay.
Right? Because the submissive is literally handing over their power to the dominant. So they are trusting them with their lives.
They're going to trust, folks. When it comes to something like this, you've got to do it with someone that you trust, okay? All right. So the next one we're going to touch upon is the SM, which is the sadist and masochist part of it, which is basically masochist is the pain. All right. And also, what is it? Also the intensity of the pain as well. And also, let's see what I have. Add something else in there, because I'm like I said, I'm still learning as well. So please, when it comes to the sadist and the masochist, I personally do not touch that side. I'm a mistress, so for me, I'm a sensual Dom. So I do not inflict any type of pain whatsoever. That's not my thing. But I do know a lot of men, especially women, who enjoy it. They go as far as bruising and, please go into that.
So bruises are called trophies.
Trophies.
Yes. Ooh. And women who like trophies usually are called heavy bottoms or impact bottoms.
Okay.
They are masochists, which means they like pain. Mm-hmm. They have their threshold for pain is like amazing. I freaking love.
So there's different levels of pain.
Different levels of pain. Yes.
And this is all inflicted through different types of techniques. It's not necessarily just shibari, which is the Japanese term meaning to tie. It's not necessarily limited to that. There's other things that we have yet to go into, other episodes that are coming in the future, knife play, things like that. Spanking can get really intense for sure. I know the paddles, I've seen the flogging get intense. I've seen something as strong as just a hand. Leaving handprints sometimes is sexy.
Paddles.
Yeah, some women love to have their handprints. I actually was hit one time and it left a little scabby type of thing. I was like, you know what? I don't really have too much of a bum, but he kind of hit that one. You know what I'm saying? I liked it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so thank you for explaining the masochist and the sadist. Also, the SM, the slave and master relationship. That's more of, let's see, more extreme control, more, again, demands. What would you add more to that as far as master? And
so master and slave, master is usually the male version of mistress. Okay. And the slave gives away more power than a submissive does, in that he or she will do anything and everything for their master.
And when it comes to slaves, those usually are the ones that go into like the humiliation and things of that nature. That can go as far as what people see on TV, what spitting and cleaning the bathrooms and, you know, those types of things, kind of like the tasks that most people think that are absolutely insane, nuts, probably inhumane, you know, right. Things like that. But again, these are, let's make this clear. These are kinks. These are fetishes. These are what people are into, to each his own. We're not here to judge anyone. All right. We're just here to educate. Again, have some, you know, one-on-one time with people who are into these kinds of things, and they can educate and enlighten us on their experience and their journey, you know, and what they take from it. So I appreciate that. So you guys have a small insight and, you know, briefing on the breakdown of BDSM and the relationships between each one. So I hope that was helpful for you guys. Thank you so much for that. And yes, I am using cue cards today, so forget you. All right. Anyway, so I learned something interesting today while, you know, educating myself and getting prepared for this interview. All right. So I learned today that a rigger is also known as a rope top. Okay. And also the rope bunny also can be known as the rope bottom. Okay. There's also so many terminologies and so many different ways to say things. We don't want to, you know, make it seem like there's only one way. So we're educating you to let you know that there may be different ways to say things in the, you know, the BDSM lifestyle, the kink world. So that way you're familiar with all the terminology together. But also, what else did I learn here? Again, I learned Shibari, certain Japanese words as well. Shibari means to tie. So that's something that's popular. That's a popular word that you will hear. I just learned about rigger. I've always known about the rope bunny and the shibari, but rigger, I was thinking more of trucking, things of that nature. So I didn't really associate it with, you know, any type of sexual activity or anything like that. So that's something that, you know, I was happy, you know, to learn about as well. Okay, so I have a few questions for you, ma'am.
Shoot.
Okay, so how long have you been rigging?
So I've been rigging for about 3 months now. Okay. I got into it when I met a rigger of about, I think she's been in the rigging world for about 20 years.
Oh, nice.
I met her at a kink event. And the day that I met her, I actually signed up for her class. Her name is Lady Briska.
Shout out to Lady Briska.
Yes, and she teaches at Mischief Manor here in Wharton, New Jersey.
Hope you guys got that. Make sure you take down this information because obviously it's helping. If it can help one, it can help another.
Yes, I absolutely love the classes. The classes are 3 hours long, and the instructor is awesome. She takes her time, and she does one-on-one She does group. There is a suspension bar there. She'll suspend you if you want to be suspended.
Nice.
Not like from school, though. And I absolutely love it. I do.
Okay. All right. Thank you for sharing. My next question would be, what do you enjoy most about doing the ropes?
I like the aesthetics of it.
Okay.
It's pretty. I like to use, there are different kinds of ropes. I like to use the soft synthetic nylon ropes because they feel good on the skin.
And they don't irritate, they don't leave any marks or anything of that nature. Can you repeat that again, what type of texture that is so they know?
So it's a silky smooth texture.
Okay.
Because rope,
you said nylon? It was
nylon is what
like
I
a
use.
stocking. If you don't know what that is, nylon is usually like stockings that a female would wear. It's very soft. But yes, go ahead.
Rope play is very sensual. So for me, I got into it for the aesthetics, as well as the intimacy that it creates between the bottom and myself. Mm-hmm. The rope feels good on the skin. They like the compression of the rope, right? And when they fall into what's called rope space, they are putty in your hands.
Nice.
And I absolutely love that part too.
Nice. Okay. All right. Thank you for that. Let's see. Do you do self-rigging? Because I know usually when someone gets into these things, they really don't have or may not have someone to practice on. And also educating myself because I prepare for you. It's normal. It's a normal experience for new riggers to self-rig in the process before they actually go ahead and do it with someone else for their own self-caution, I assume, if you want to add on to that.
Yes. So when I got into ropes, I started rigging on myself. I was practicing on me. So I take the rope class, that's one. I read the rope manuals and also watch videos like all day long because I want to know I like the pretty of it, but I also need to know the safety of it. I also need to know the anatomy of it, like where the ropes can go, where they can't go. I need to know how to check on the rope bottom as far as whether or not they're okay. You know, if they're not feeling any tingling or hands turning cold. You know what I mean? Those are symptoms of something going wrong.
Okay. All right.
So I need to know all of that. Like I need to know how to care for the rope bottom.
Thank you for sharing that. You actually hit some really, really good points. We're going to actually go into that because I have a few more questions for you about that. In regards to steps and safety of the rigging, you just mentioned a few things. One, communication with your partner. That's the first and foremost thing.
First and foremost.
I'm going to give you some points, and then if you can you give me a point back directly in regards to what I'm saying?
Sure.
So the first one would be communicate with your partner. What's the number one thing in regards to that topic?
Are you comfortable?
Comfortable. Okay.
Do you trust me? Like I need for you to A, trust me, and B, be comfortable enough to do the rigging. Because if your brain is all over the place, then you're not focusing on anything. Like you're not focusing on the technique. You're not focusing on what the rope feels like on your body. You're not focusing on whether or not you're hurting. Am I hurting you?
Right.
You know, or your is your nervous system okay?
Right.
You know?
Okay. Now, when going into the situation, is this like a role play type of vibe? How do you get to like choosing your scenario?
So far, I've only had my rope bottoms in the rope class, where we practice on each other, and when I go to events, I practice on those people as well. And all it takes is a conversation with someone. Hey, my name's Queen Diana Prince. I'm new to rigging. Can I practice on you?
Okay.
You know, are you into ropes? And then we'll have that conversation from there. And then we'll start talking about safety.
Okay.
And then we'll start talking about, I'll tell them, listen, This is who I am. This is what I do. I got you.
Okay.
This is your safe space. You know what I mean?
Okay. Well, thank you for that. And also, let's see. When you go into rigging, what are some of the things that you would consider to plan for the unexpected? Like, what are some of the situations that you may not something that's rare, something you don't usually, a boo-boo, what you would call it? What's something that you would look out for? Like, what's a major issue that you've encountered?
Anytime you're playing with ropes, safety is always an issue. You need to be able to get out of the ropes as quickly as possible.
Okay.
If anything, God forbid, should go wrong. So I keep a pair of shears, EMT shears, on hand in case I have to cut them out of them.
You heard that, guys? Even though it's fun and it's sensual and it's a relationship with your dom or your partner, whoever you're doing it with, at the end of the day, safety comes first. And make sure you do it with someone that knows what they're doing. And if they are a beginner or are practicing, make sure that they have the necessary tools available in case of an emergency, in case you need to get out of something, in a quick pickle. All right. So, you answered my very next question, which was, what were some of the proper materials to use when it comes to this particular situation? You did say soft nylon ropes. You keep a pair of shears with you. Do you keep like anything funky, like some wax, or like what else do you add with your ropes? I seen you do some, what did you call the flower? They were like flower needles on the guy's nipple, and you were tapping them. He was a masochist, and he was drinking a little bit. Rope bites.
So they are the spiky enclosures that I put on the ropes to intensify play with him, because he was a masochist. I added the element of pain.
Oh, okay. And it was a beautiful sight, guys. We did catch that on video. So maybe, with Queen Diana Prince's, consent, maybe we can go ahead and upload something like that. But we can also, we're also going to have a demo after this interview as well with our rope bunny to show you, exactly how she does it, and you can see the techniques and things like that. And that'll be in the after segment on Patreon, so make sure you guys go ahead and tune into that afterwards, okay? And again, if you didn't catch it in the beginning, that'll be on Lifestyle Dropbox at Patreon. All right, so you actually were running it down left and right. You are very knowledgeable at what you do. I learned a lot. Again, you talked about the anatomy, the technique. Safe word.
Yes.
Please go into the safe words. That's important as well when it comes to BDSM in general.
Some people have their own safe words that they use when they're doing BDSM. However, there is a generic safe word that is the traffic light. So green is I'm good, you can continue.
Okay.
Yellow is ease up a little bit, or change the tool, or change the spot where you're using the tool, or something like that. And then red is just stop.
Okay. All right. The traffic light, folks. If you can't figure out your own safe word, and don't try to be funky and funny with it. Like, really try to make it something that's for you, something simple, easy that you can remember. We don't want to go into like passwords, like a computer password. The next thing you know, you're trying to be funny and can't figure out what the hell you're supposed to say, when you're getting, when you're in pain. But that's a great example for those who are just beginning. That's very easy, very generic. Like you said, it deals with everyday life. Green, yellow, red. You can't go wrong with that. Thank you for sharing that. Something that you also mentioned, and it doesn't just apply to BDSM. This applies to really all lifestyles, and I believe that it can apply to the vanilla life as well, is the aftercare. And the reason I say that is because for me in general, like I said, it's not just BDSM. happen to be a person that's very big on cleaning up my partner after intercourse, or checking up on my subs after, a session, things of that nature. It's just a matter of just empathy. Again, a trustful relationship, with a trusting relationship, with that person that you're doing the activities with and things of that nature. And most of all, like you said, making them feel comfortable, and again, giving them a safe space that they can go ahead and say, you know what, although I did get my, ass busted wide open or my ass beat up, you know what I'm saying? At least I can, get some type of empathy or sympathy from the person that, that did it to me. And it makes them feel more comfortable, makes them maybe feel more vulnerable, let their guard down, things like that. They might want to, from there, even explore even more. You give people that type of safe space and make them feel nurtured and cared for. That makes them, like I said, open up even more. The next thing you know, they're exploring things that they probably never thought they would, ever do. So aftercare is very, very, very important. If you want to add something on to that, please tell the audience exactly, in regards to rigging the aftercare specifically for that.
So everybody have their own aftercare routine or process. Again, that comes with knowing who you're partnered with, right? Knowing who you're partnered with, trusting who you're partnered with, and being able to be vulnerable with the person that you're partnered with. That's why I have a conversation, like even at events when I'm practicing on different people, they don't mind bottoming for me because I don't hide anything. I'm very transparent. Mm-hmm. Listen, I'm new to this. I'm still learning. Will you do this?
Yeah.
And most of them are open. I get a kick out of everyone who says, that just met me, that says, Diana, I trust you. Mm-hmm. That means everything to me.
Now, what does the typical aftercare look like?
So far, I've run into, most people like to cuddle.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Most people like to cuddle, depending on how deep into a scene that you get, they like to cuddle. You like to be rubbed, especially with...
ooh, I love me some rubbing.
Mm-hmm. They like to be rubbed.
Excuse me.
They like to have their favorite snack.
Got me with
and their
rubbing.
Favorite drink. On deck, and then they just want to be left alone to decompress.
Okay. All right. Okay, that sounds great to me. And last point that I have, when it comes to the BDSM world, it is definitely, sex is not priority. Usually in the swinging lifestyle, sex would be that.
Right.
In this particular lifestyle, in the BDSM kink lifestyle, sex is not the priority. What is the priority in this particular lifestyle?
In BDSM, it could be a little bit anything, because BDSM is a broad topic. Myself, the kinks I'm into is impact play, rope play, wax play, sensual play, sensory deprivation, bondage. Those are my kinks. So when I go to kink events, I'm seeking out people who are looking to practice those kinks.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And let me just add, because a lot of people do get confused, and it happened to me one time in the lifestyle. If you do happen to go out to an event, for me personally, I throw kink events. I try not to call them BDSM events because I do allow playtime, at my events. But normally at a BDSM event, because of the impact play and the activities and the boundaries and limits that go on, usually sex is not allowed or is not involved, because you really don't want to blur those types of lines. Hate to have sex with somebody while you got a knife in your hand, or try to have sex with somebody while you spanking them or choking them. You just don't want to have those types of issues. And again, let me make this clear, because I always try to at least be 100% real with my audience. Again, this is lifestyle and it could be life. You don't want to, again, mix the two together because, again, you don't want to end up in jail. You don't want to hurt someone. You just want to be very, very careful. You want to keep it fun. You want to keep it sexy. If you get to the point where you feel like, you know, this particular stuff is taking over your life, please seek some help. And I'm saying that in a very, you know, serious way, because I haven't even gotten to the episodes yet where we get into addictions, because addictions are real. You know, I'm addicted to the lifestyle, and I'm going to admit that there's some people that are addicted to masochists, you know, addicted to, you know, certain things. And at the end of the day, you want to make sure that, again, you have your limits, you know your limits, and know those before you come into the lifestyle. Find out what they are when you get there, and don't try to, you know, push your limits. Give yourself time to explore. You know, don't be overly influenced. Don't think that you have to do something. This is always a no pressure zone. Remember, the rule is no means no. In the beginning, the middle, the end. It doesn't matter what the situation may be. So, again, thank you. Letting us know that it is definitely not always about sex. All right, BDSM, rigging offers something totally different, a different branch in the lifestyle. All right. So I just wanted to wrap it up a little bit with the interview. All right. And here are some tips and tricks to help you explore the rigor lifestyle of the rigor branch in the BDSM lifestyle. So one is start off slowly. Take your time, okay? Because BDSM can be very, very intense. Rigging can be very intense. I know some people that use the strong, like a wooden Home Depot type of rope. Like they like the slight burn of the skin.
There's that's why I was talking about the different kinds of rope. There are different kinds of rope, different materials for different purposes.
Mm-hmm.
For my purpose, I like the look of it. I like the feel of it. So that's why I prefer the nylon silk rope.
Yeah.
However, that's just for floor work. I'm not going to be, there's a such thing as suspending.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's where you get lifted off the floor.
Yes.
A rigger.
Yes.
That's why we're called riggers, because you're rigging them off the floor.
Have you done suspension? I didn't mean to cut you off.
Have I done suspension? Yes. So the young lady that I'm learning from, Lady Briska, it took me a couple of classes before I was like, okay, I want to do this. So I let her suspend me, and it was awesome. I loved it.
Okay. I would love to do that one day. I am definitely learning about the ropes. I personally like the design of it, but I also like the suspension. I would love to be put in the air, see how that goes. So please, I'm shooting my shot to you, okay? All right. So we have start slowly. Of course, again, we mentioned that it can be very intense with the different types of materials that you use. Also, remember, communication is key. Consent is key. You don't have to be pressured into anything. If something is hurting you, please. She offered a generic safety tip: red light, green light, yellow light, traffic light. Remember that, okay? Engage with a partner that you're comfortable with, that you trust, that you can speak to, somebody that you can be yourself with, someone that you can ask questions. Always remember, if you are around a person that you can't be yourself, or you can't answer questions or things of that nature, don't do anything with them, because they don't have your best interests at heart. You can't trust them. That's not a vulnerable space or safe space, okay? All right. Also, practice your techniques. Practice makes perfect.
Practice.
I've seen the people that are very, very passionate about what they do. They spend hours, and I mean hours. Sometimes I can't even get some of these riggers and players, off of their phones, their laptops. Sometimes I call them, they're in really in the thick of, learning their craft and doing what they're doing. And that's how you get, great at what you do.
Right.
You dedicate your time, you stay committed to it, and then next thing you know, magic happens. So for you guys out there who want to get into certain things in the lifestyle and see these different skills that she mentioned, again, YouTube University, Lifestyle Dropbox podcast, go to some of these events, put yourself out there and learn a few things, all right? And also, last but not least, the proper, supplies and utensils. Just making sure that everything is, what about cleaning, sanitizing? Do you sanitize, or do you have to throw away these ropes when it comes to certain things? That's something that we didn't mention. Okay. Hygiene is always something to, sanitation.
Another thing I like about the nylon ropes is that it's not that much effort put into it for cleaning, as opposed to other types of ropes. So when I clean my ropes, I just take a Lysol wipe and run the rope through the wipe that sanitizes it. Then I store it.
Okay. Another thing I meant to ask you, is there different rope sizes for different, when you're doing suspension, do you do maybe thicker ropes for maybe a thicker person? Would you do how do you? You know what I'm trying to say? So I'm not trying to offend anyone, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Right. So for suspension, that's a different form of rope, because the ropes that I use are strictly for pretty. I would not trust those ropes for suspension because of safety. Mm-hmm. Right. So safety is the first rule of anything BDSM. So I wouldn't use those ropes because they're not strong enough.
Okay.
And they're different sizes. Yes, rope comes in various different sizes, various different lengths, various different colors. The size that I like to use, they usually come in about 30 feet, 32 feet, and it's about 5 to 8 millimeters thick.
Okay.
Those are the ones that I like to use. For suspension, it's usually hemp rope or jute, because they're stronger and it holds the knots better. And I'm not sure what the thickness of it is, but I want to say about the same, between 7 to 8 millimeters.
Okay. All right. So you guys, I hope that you were able to get a lot of valuable information here. We will be back again later on in the future to see the progress that Queen Diana Prince has made. I think you're doing awesome now. I wish you nothing but the best of luck in the future. You make sure that you keep going. Again, we are going to have an after segment. We have a rope bunny here that we're going to go ahead and practice on and show, a nice demonstration. But in the meantime, we're going to go ahead and back on out of here this week for this podcast. And again, you know where to find me, right here on YouTube at Lifestyle Dropbox, and also on Instagram at Lifestyle_drop_box. That's if you want to keep up with the events. If you want to stay tuned with the podcast, that is Instagram at Lifestyle Dropbox __ podcast. And you can also find me on Spotify and Patreon at Lifestyle Dropbox. So we're going to expand. We're going to get better. We'll be on more platforms moving on in the future. But for right now, I appreciate you guys. Go ahead and like, comment, share, subscribe, and we're out.